Next question comes from Danny Moss. Are Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum actually a good pair when they are both playing? The answer to me is yes. If you don't want either one of them to be your primary playmaker, that's a different story. But the rumor that maybe the Celtics would consider moving on from Jaylen Brown, it didn't feel like that was an imminent thing. And I don't think their archetype of player are the most coveted essentially around the league right now. You're not just going to trade one of them. And look, the Celtics have not been bad. They haven't played too much time together this season, just relative to Jaylen Brown has missed some time, but they have logged 900 possessions together. The Celtics have a net rating of plus 6.7 during those minutes with a defensive rating below 100. And so you look at what both these guys can do defensively. I think Jayson Tatum's kind of an underrated defender at this point, especially when you look at the plays that he can make away from the ball. It's the offense that struggled for them. And so lineups with them this season have actually been finishing well around the rim. What you would probably argue is that they're not getting to the rim enough, but even those lineups with both of them in the game, and I think a lot of this has to do with Jaylen Brown's pressure, they're getting to the rim fine. They're really what's hurt the Celtics this season is they're shooting sub 35% from three when Brown and Tatum play. Tatum has been part of that with his tough threes. They're shooting terribly from mid range. Tatum has been a part of that for stretches. This team might need an actual type of point guard. Like think of the better version of Dennis Schroeder. Friend of the podcast, Alex Kungu, who covers and follows the Celtics, I think put out a fake De'Aaron Fox trade to Boston at one point that cost them Jaylen Brown just as an exercise. I don't think he endorsed it, but that might be the type of player that you need to go after. Or I came up with a CJ McCollum trade that I don't know how well it's going to be received. This assumes that CJ McCollum is fine after he comes back from his collapsed lung. And I also recognize that if you want someone who's going to put pressure on the rim, this would not be the guy that you go after. However, the trade I came up with was CJ McCollum and Ben McLemore for Juan Hernangomez, Romeo Langford, Josh Richardson, and Robert Williams III. This does work, even though Robert Williams III is on the poison pill. Maybe you're concerned about the center position after that, just because you still have Al Horford, but are you going to have him next season with that like he's like 50% of his money, a little bit less than 50% guaranteed. You still do have Grant Williams, but do you trust him? I think they can withstand the loss of Josh Richardson on the wings. You have Marcus Smart, you have Jaylen Brown, you have Jayson Tatum. That's a lot of defensive talent right there. It'd probably be looking at their long, like you don't want Enes Freedom as like I have to bring this guy back right now. It's something I would consider if CJ McCollum is CJ McCollum upon return and playing better than he did upon exit, because he's not someone who needs to eat into their touches a ton, but he also gives you the ability to, I think, enhance lineups with the both of them, or even just the one of them, or even maybe you want to like tightly tether the Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum minutes together even more. We've seen McCollum be able to run some units in Portland without Dame in the past because they've never really invested in that backup point guard. Not all those units have been good, but that has a lot to do with talent. He's also really improved his off the dribble three, and he remains a good 3-point shooter. And the Celtics don't have that knockdown shooter. Makes a ton of money, but it's only 2 years and 70-ish million after this season. If you're willing to eat it, I don't think that this is an unreasonable cost. And I also think that it's a trade that the Blazers should accept. I like Time Lord in Portland. And then you're also, Hernangomez is expiring. That's why he's in this. Josh Richardson quietly had a good year, and he's the exact type of wing they want. He's a better individual defender who can defend a greater bandwidth of the positional spectrum than Robert Covington and Larry Nance Jr. at this point. And he's been okay on offense for Boston this season. Then Romeo Langford, I think, is maybe that's why you worry about your ring rotation a little bit. Do you trust Aaron Nesmith to allow more minutes? But Langford has given them, he's shown flashes of better shooting this year. And this is someone who could be active on defense. That was the package I threw out, though. It was CJ McCollum and Ben McLemore to Boston for Juan Hernangomez, Romeo Langford, Josh Richardson, and Robert Williams III.